It's 1879 in Japan, and we're at Yokohama train station where Police Commander Sato Hajime is about to have the worst day of his career. He's trying to arrest this Chinese mafia boss named Inishi Yukishiro, who's been illegally selling weapons to Japanese criminals. We're talking serious stuff here. This guy even sold a warship to one of Japan's most dangerous criminals, Makoto Shishio. Now, Inishi isn't going down without a fight. After beating up several officers, he starts asking about some legendary Japanese warrior called Badosai and whether he still has scars on his face. Eventually, Sato's troops manage to corner him, and Inishi has no choice but to surrender. But here's where it gets interesting. The Japanese authorities hand him over to the Chinese consulate, who immediately release him to keep the peace between countries. Turns out this guy has serious political connections back in China, so he basically walks free, despite being caught red-handed with illegal weapons. Meanwhile, our main character Kenshin is living his best life with Kaworu after successfully putting Makoto Shishio behind bars. They're having dinner at their usual spot with friends Sanosuke and Yeihiko, probably thinking their days of fighting are over. Right after they leave the tavern, Inishi and his crew blow the entire place up, burning it to the ground. The guy clearly has some serious beef with Kenshin, though we don't know why yet. That night, a police officer brings Kenshin to investigate a hill where they suspect Inishi's group prepared their explosives. They don't find much except a piece of paper with the ominous message, "Human Punishment." Kenshin immediately recognizes this as something a samurai or Badosai would use to justify their massacres. This hits different when you realize what's coming. Back at Kamiya's dojo, he's trying to piece together who's behind the tavern attack. Elsewhere, Megumi and Sanosuke are treating victims from the explosion. Megumi mentions something fascinating about Kenshin's facial scar. She heard from a doctor that wounds a samurai gets from anger on the path of justice never heal until that anger disappears. Keep that in mind because it becomes crucial later. The next night, while Kenshin and Sanosuke are chatting outside the dojo, a wounded police member stumbles up to them, barely alive. He tells them their dojo has been attacked by unknown assailants and many members are dead. Before they can process this fully, more officers arrive with news that the police chief's house has also been hit. They make the smart decision to split up. Kenshin heads to the police chief's house. Kenshin discovers the attacker is one of Inishi's men named Hyoko, who's about to kill the police chief's family members. Kenshin intervenes. Kenshin eventually defeats him, leaving Hyoko severely injured. But here's the twist. When Kenshin lets his guard down, Hyoko detonates explosives, burning down the entire place. This moment crushes Kenshin because he realizes people are suffering because of someone's personal vendetta against him. Meanwhile, Sanosuke arrives at the dojo only to find everyone slaughtered. There's literally no one left to save. The next day brings the confrontation we've been building toward. Kenshin runs into Inishi, who finally reveals his identity. He's the younger brother of a girl Kenshin killed 14 years ago. Inishi explains how he deliberately moved to Shanghai and spent years building a powerful mafia organization just to get revenge on Kenshin. But here's the psychological torture part. He's not planning to kill Kenshin directly. Instead, he wants to make him suffer by hurting everyone Kenshin cares about. This revelation sends Kenshin into a spiral because he has to imagine watching the people he loves get hurt one by one. The Japanese government responds by ordering increased police security after the deadly attacks. At Inishi's headquarters, a Chinese politician named Hishin shows up questioning their deal. Inishi promised to hand over his organization once his revenge was complete. After Hishin leaves, we get our first flashback to Inishi's past. He tried to convince his older sister Tomo to leave Kenshin because he saw how dangerous Kenshin was. This gives us our first hint about the tragic love story at the heart of this revenge plot. Kenshin finally decides to come clean with Kaworu and the others. He reveals that Inishi is the younger brother of Tomo, his late wife, who died from a slash from Kenshin's own sword. Tomo was the one who gave him that scar on his cheek just before she died 14 years ago. Now we dive into the backstory that makes this whole thing heartbreaking. Kenshin first met Tomo when he helped her escape some thugs at a food stall. She had nowhere to go, so she ended up living with him, a Badosai from the rebel group. As time passed, Kenshin fell deeply in love with her and wanted nothing more than to make her happy. But here's the tragic irony. Tomo initially approached Kenshin to take revenge for her fiancé's death. Kenshin had killed her fiancé. She was playing the long game, getting close to him to destroy him from within. However, as she spent more time with Kenshin, she began to feel genuinely comfortable and safe with him. Her heart changed, and she abandoned her revenge plan because she fell in love with him too. Before Tomo left Kenshin for the last time, she scratched his face so he would always remember his promise never to kill again once an era of peace was achieved. It was her way of marking him with a reminder of hope and redemption. Inishi witnessed Tomo's death and believed Kenshin murdered her intentionally. This misunderstanding became the driving force behind everything years of building power, crossing countries, and now systematically destroying everyone Kenshin cares about. After hearing this story, Sanosuke and the others fall into stunned silence. There's nothing they can say or do to stop Inishi's quest for vengeance. But the person hit hardest is Kaworu, who realizes she's been living in the shadow of Kenshin's great love. She understands now that Kenshin loved Tomo with a depth and sincerity that might never be matched, and it breaks her heart. Megumi tries to comfort Kaworu, suggesting she can still love Kenshin by supporting him wholeheartedly. Kaworu goes to Kenshin and asks him to stay with them to find a solution together. She can see that he's planning to leave to protect everyone, but she refuses to let him face this alone. At Inishi's headquarters, we get an interesting side plot. A samurai named Cho, who used to work for Makoto Shishio, breaks in trying to steal from Inishi's sword collection. Chu now works for the Japanese government after losing to Kenshin in the past. He challenges Inishi to a one-on-one duel because he can't stand the insults Inishi threw at him about that defeat. Back at Kamiya's dojo, the two allies arrive with something precious, Tomo's notebook. Misao and Oshi, former bodyguards who used to work for an illegal opium dealer before Kenshin defeated their boss, now work for the Japanese police. An acquaintance who knew Tomo will ask them to deliver her notebook to Kenshin. That evening, Inishi launches his major offensive. His troops terrorize all of Kyoto, spreading papers with the message, "Human Judgment," before attacking multiple locations throughout the city. One of his men, Kujiranami, uses explosive weapons resembling cannon fire to blow up several buildings. Kenshin tries to stop Kujiranami, and we get another intense fight scene. Despite Kujiranami's superior weapons, Kenshin manages to defeat him and destroy the explosive device. Meanwhile, Hiyoshi and Misao face off against another of Inishi's men named Mangyoi. Since Mangyoi's real target is Kenshin, he chooses to blow up the area and escape rather than waste time fighting them. Unfortunately, the explosion seriously injures Oshi as he tries to protect civilians. Back at Kamiya's dojo, Inishi arrives carrying Cho's lifeless body, proof that he won their duel. Sanosuke tries to protect Kaworu and the others by fighting Inishi, but he's completely outmatched. Inishi's fighting ability is on another level, and he easily takes down Sanosuke. When Kenshin returns from defeating Inishi's other men, he finds Sanosuke lying helpless with severe injuries. With his dying breath, Sanosuke tells him that Inishi has taken Kaworu. Fortunately, Kenshin finds a clue about Kaworu's location in a paper stuck in dead Cho's mouth. The next day, Her Sato and other police officers begin evacuating injured residents from the night's attacks. The destruction is massive buildings collapsed and burned, with many civilians becoming casualties of Inishi's revenge plot. Kaworu wakes up in a strange house and immediately tries to escape, only to discover she's trapped on a small uninhabited island. When Inishi approaches her, he nearly kills her for mentioning Tomo's name, but something stops him at the last moment. Back at the dojo, Kenshin makes the decision to leave and rescue Kaworu. The next day, at the inn, Hishin meets with Inishi to collect on their deal. Inishi's organization in exchange for his help with revenge. Inishi, feeling his revenge is nearly complete, hands over his organization. But Hishin suspects this easy handover means the Japanese police already know about Inishi's headquarters location. This angers Inishi, who chases Hishin and his men away. After Hishin leaves, he secretly plans to kill Kenshin himself. His real goal in seizing Inishi's mafia organization was to gain enough influence and resources to control the Japanese government. He sees Kenshin as Japan's strongest samurai and a potential threat to his political ambitions. That night, Kenshin arrives at Inishi's headquarters alone. He deliberately doesn't bring friends or police, because he doesn't want more people becoming victims in this personal revenge conflict. What follows is an incredible sequence where Kenshin fights hundreds of Inishi's men using only 2 swords with reversed edges. Just when things look desperate, Mizuo and her allies arrive to help. She's there to avenge the person who injured Oshi in the previous attack. Then Sato shows up with the Shinsengumi police force, and even Sanosuke, who's still not fully recovered from his injuries. With their help, Kenshin can focus on finding Kaworu and stopping Inishi. But Hishin has prepared his own trap. He and his troops surround Kenshin's location, planning to kill him. He's even hired a skilled samurai named Sejiro Seta for the job. Sejiro used to work under Makoto Shishio and actually managed to beat Kenshin in a previous fight. In an unexpected twist, Sejiro attacks Hishin's men instead, choosing to help Kenshin. It turns out Sejiro had an awakening after Kenshin defeated him in their last encounter, and now he wants to help rather than harm. With Sejiro's assistance, Kenshin defeats all of Hishin's forces. Sejiro tells Kenshin to go save Kaworu while he handles the remaining enemies alone. This leads to the final confrontation between Kenshin and Inishi. When Kenshin faces Inishi, he acknowledges that he understands why Inishi wants revenge so badly. He asks Inishi not to involve innocent people in their conflict. What follows is an intense duel that represents years of built-up rage and grief. During the battle, Inishi declares that the sins of a killer can only be redeemed by the killer's death, demanding that Kenshin end his own life. Kenshin refuses, explaining that the best way to make up for his mistakes is to protect the people around him, especially those he loves. This philosophical difference drives their continued combat. But then, in a moment of pure rage and revenge, fueled determination, Inishi stabs a knife into Kenshin's body. The shocking part is that even though Kenshin saw the attack coming, he didn't try to dodge or resist at all. After the blade enters his body, Kenshin looks directly into Inishi's eyes and apologizes. This moment of genuine remorse and acceptance stops everything. Suddenly, Hishin appears, planning to shoot both of them and eliminate his problems permanently. But Kaworu runs in to stop him. When Hishin turns his gun on her, Inishi unexpectedly throws himself in front of the bullet, protecting her with his own body. Inishi's fury at Hishin's interference drives him to grab the politician and nearly kill him. Kenshin approaches the wounded Inishi and thanks him for saving Kaworu. Inishi explains that he protected her because he saw his older sister Tomo in her, and he couldn't bear to let her be hurt. This triggers Inishi's emotional breakdown as memories of his beloved sister flood back. A few days later, Inishi is finally arrested and imprisoned for his crimes. While in his cell, he receives a package from Kaworu containing letters and notebooks that Tomo left behind. These writings reveal the complete truth that changes everything. In her own words, Tomo explains that she abandoned her intention of revenge and chose to love Kenshin instead because he gave her new happiness and hope. Despite knowing that Kenshin had killed hundreds of people, Tomo believed he could bring peace to their country and ultimately protect more lives than he had taken. Most powerfully, she reveals that she sacrificed herself to protect Kenshin because she recognized him as an important figure who could bring a new era of peace to Japan. Her death wasn't murder. It was a conscious sacrifice for the greater good. Learning that everything Kenshin did was to achieve peace for their country, Inishi breaks down completely. He cries and regrets his actions that claimed so many innocent lives in pursuit of what he now realizes was misguided revenge. After everything ends, Kenshin and Kaworu visit Tomo's grave to pay their respects and express gratitude. They honor her as a figure who helped bring peace to their country through her ultimate sacrifice. The story teaches us that sometimes achieving much bigger goals requires great sacrifice. If you've made it this far without smashing that subscribe button, congrats. You officially have more self-control than I do at a buffet. But seriously, hit subscribe. I waste my life watching movies so you don't have to. It's the least you could do.